Good morning. Thank you for joining Everything CA Clarity PPM and your return on investment presented by IT-ROI. My name is Pablo Pitaluga and I am the Vice President of Sales, but for today I'm also the webinar coordinator. Our goal is simple, to leave you with a better understanding as to why your organization should consider a project and portfolio management solution and demonstrate why CA Clarity PPM has earned the reputation of being the best in class. Today we will cover a brief presentation, and I promise this will not be a death by PowerPoint. I have just a few decks as to who we are, why Clarity PPM, and we will focus primarily on a live demo that will be presented by Federico Pena, the president and founder of IT-ROI. Before we begin, I just have a few housekeeping items, and they are as follows. All the lines at the moment are in listening mode only, and that's meant only to prevent background noise. After the presentation, there'll be a Q&A session, and you will have a couple of options to participate, and I will strongly encourage you to do so. You can ask questions by typing a question in the webinar control panel on your screen, which you will find on the right hand of your monitor. You can also click on the raised hand icon also on the webinar control panel, and I will then unmute your line, announce your name, and you can ask your question. We have been very privileged to hold several webinars in the past few weeks, and I think we all benefit when there's an interaction with the audience. So again, I strongly encourage you to participate. So let's get started. Let me share with you a little bit about who we are. If I can call your attention to the top left-hand corner of your screen, just to let you know that IT-ROI is a consulting house with approximately 400 consultants whose expertise is primarily in project and portfolio management applications. Whether it is on a cloud-based application or a mobile solution, we have also developed our own suite of tools to enhance the user experience with Clarity and your enterprise app and integration with other enterprise applications. Our goal in the end is to help you maximize your return on your investment. As you would expect then, somebody who works primarily on project and portfolio management, we have earned the accreditations that CA has provided, as well as being a channel partner, that are applicable to our field. And as you see on the screen, you'll see that many of our consultants have earned additional certifications in the area of application performance management. All of our consultants will have a certification from CA on application performance management and or on Clarity itself. So, in the end, what is the value of a project and performance management solution? I'll share with you that in a study conducted by the IDC a few years ago, they uncovered that companies who deployed PPM solutions, they used it primarily to automate processes and also to leverage their technology infrastructure to align with the company goals. As you can see for yourselves, the results are very impressive. I share with you some numbers identified by Forrester Research, in 2009, and that that companies can expect a significant return on investment. And perhaps it is quite obvious, as you can see on the screen, companies who do invest in a robust project and portfolio management tool, they are better able to keep track of costs, ensure that resources are properly allocated, they can manage against a timeline, and in short, they make decisions based on actual data and not just hearsay, which helps them align with the company's overall goals and objectives. We see this accentuated in today's economic environment, where we all face a similar situation of doing more with less. Perhaps you will agree with me that in the past 4 years required companies to go beyond just cutting budgets to remain competitive, and instead they need to look into new ways to gain an edge. This is perhaps illustrated by the transformation in IT with project and portfolio management tools. Let me share with you a couple of examples. These are recent examples that hit the press. One is Qantas Airline, for example, using Clarity PPM. They were able to deliver 55 projects and savings of approximately $30 million by the consolidation of 15 legacy systems. Another example that I'd like to share with you is CareFirst. They are a healthcare insurance provider. And as you folks know from the healthcare industry, they face new challenges with the healthcare reform legislation and demands for new services. Using Clarity PPM as well, they kept track of about 150 projects that had a total value of over $100 million. Using Clarity, they were able to deliver the projects on time, on budget, but primarily keeping the organization competitive in the new landscape. And so, as these two examples illustrate, there are many more that I could share with you, but to keep the presentation on track, I'll keep it just at these two. The underlying theme, as you can tell, it's the innovation that both companies had to use to reach their objectives. And as the study by Boston Consulting Group illustrate, that is a trait that is shared by most respondents, that either 72% claim that to be a top priority, or that innovation is a top 3 strategies for an enterprise. So what does this mean for you? Well, I think that Clarity PPM is well suited to help your organization harness the internal knowledge, capture your data, and manage the innovation life cycle as an integrated process. And we will be demonstrating this in more detail when Federico jumps into the live demo in just a few minutes. So how does Clarity help? By bringing the voice of the customer into your portfolio planning process, by helping you prioritize ideas aligned to your corporation value, by making the right investments or helping you make right investments and select the right portfolio mix. But perhaps the best is to help you manage the project, all your resources, cost schedules, using actual data, and again, not just hearsay. In my last slide prior to the demo, I wanted to just share with you a recent study that came out just last month, or actually June, excuse me. And what you see in front of you is a quadrant put together by Gartner in the recent report on project and portfolio management software applications. And as I call your attention to the top right-hand corner of the quadrant, you will see that they identify Clarity basically as one of the top applications for project and portfolio management. And I like to illustrate with a quote from one of the vice presidents of CareFirst about their selection of Clarity for their projects. And in short, if I could paraphrase, it was their ability to better track the allocation of resources that allow them to save millions of dollars and again just help them become more competitive. So we'll share with you in this past few slides a little bit about us, about IT-ROI, a little bit about the application itself, and also a handful of success stories, as well as validating Clarity's position as a leader in the market. What I'd like to do now is just turn over the presentation to Federico Pena. As you can see by the slide, Federico is the president and founder of IT-ROI Solutions and also happens to be my boss. He has extensive experience in the project and portfolio management space, and specifically with Clarity. and we have founded a company over 3 years ago. He has worked extensively with CA products and is the brainchild on many of the tools that I shared with you that we developed to help companies become more efficient using Clarity. So Federico, I'd like to just turn the presentation over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
I can. I'll go ahead and make you the presenter, okay. Federico.
All right, thanks.
You're the presenter, Federico, now.
All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick walkthrough of the functionality of Clarity. And as Pablo mentioned before, you know, what we're trying to do is we're trying to show the flexibility of Clarity and how we can actually utilize this tool to help prioritize, whether it be ideas or projects or other investments, how we can roll projects up into programs, roll programs or projects into portfolios, you know, be able to make executive decisions based on financial planning for both, you know, the investment level as well as, you know, demand level. So, you know, as you know, everything in a company, whether it be IT or any other type of project or any other type of investment, really has to start with some type of demand, right? Whether the demand be an idea, somebody has an idea that, you know, needs to be promoted into a project or some other investment, or some type of incident or something's occurred in the organization that's forcing the organization to make some type of decision where a change has to be made. Okay, so this main screen right here, this is the main landing page for Clarity. And in general, Clarity has the very same layout for all of the pages. So usually what we have is in every one of the pages, like in this particular landing page, we've got what are called portlets. So portlets are basically a conglomeration of little reports, little web-based reports that contain different things. Like this one contains action items and notifications, my projects, that kind of thing. And then across the top, we've got tabs. And each tab basically contains a different conglomerate of portlets. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start by discussing the portlets or the reports that we have at the top, and then I can show you how we can utilize Clarity to actually be able to plan data and how it shows up on these reports to be able to make executive decisions. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at the highest level, which would be the portfolio. So I'm going to start at the portfolio dashboard view. Okay. So this is the portfolio dashboard view, and here we basically, you know, we can make an executive decision based on portfolio benefit and cost. So we can take a look at all the investments that we have, their benefit and their cost, and then we can make an executive decision of what we need to prioritize based on that. Or we can say, well, let's do portfolios investment benefits by goals. So, you know, if you need to specify specific goals of your investments, such as, you know, cost avoidance or cost reduction or maintain the business or that kind of thing, we can also find out, you know, what the costs are per section of your business, or, you know, we can actually see the drill down of very specific numbers and, you know, what the cost variance is between each portfolio and each investment. Now, we can also go over, you know, once we get one level lower, is at the program level. So, you know, in this particular case, you know, we can see all the programs that we've got in Clarity, as well as this particular schedule for each project that we've got within inside of that program. And here what we've got is, you know, days late, right? So as you can see, some are green, some are red. And what we're saying is, you know, anything that we put a business rule that says anything that's behind schedule greater than 10 days, turn it red, right? Otherwise, you know, green means all good, right? Status is on schedule. So this gives you a very high-level overview of particular programs. Now, what we want to do is now we can actually go even one level deeper, which is, you know, we're going to take a look at the project dashboard. All right, and this is a particular dashboard that has a similar view to the program one, right? Except the only difference is here I can actually expand each one of these projects and get into, into tasks. So if I want to actually see particularly why these are red, I can actually expand these values and see the tasks that are causing this to be red. Okay, so here we've got the high-level tasks, and then we can actually drill into each particular task, and we can see that these particular sections of the tasks are the ones that are causing the delay, right? Or if we want a higher-level overview, and I'm just going to switch to another page here to have some more meaningful value, but we can actually sort projects by baseline cost or actual cost or cost variance or so on. Okay, and then once we get inside of the project, there's also the next component, which is what causes projects to be late, or what can cause issues with your particular investment, and that would be if we get into the risk and issues. All right, so this is a list of the risk and issues of all of the investments that are related. All the risks and issues that are related to particular investments in all of your Clarity. So here we've got a conglomerated list of all of the issues, and here we've got a conglomerated list of all of the risks. Okay, and this is, like I said, this is enterprise-wide. Okay, but we can come up and say, well, here, like, we're specifically sorting by project. We can see that there's 3 or 4 issues or so for each one of these projects, but as you can also see, everything is hyperlinked, so we can drill into it. So here I could drill into the issue, or I can drill into the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill into the project and start getting into the actual project view of this particular item. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned before, in Clarity, we basically contain very similar views to everything, right? You've got your set of portlets, right, which are your little web-based reports, and then up at the top, you've got, your different tabs that basically define more detail of that particular section. In this case, be it the project, right? So, if I click on this little arrow, it shows me for the properties, I can have all sorts of different properties that I want, whether it's financial, budget, status, product descriptions, checkpoints reports, health report, project charters, all of that stuff, right? Or, this is the main data about the project, basically contains who's the project manager, who's the business owner, what section of the business does it belong to, and the status and a quick objective or description about the project. And up at the top we have the team, who are the team members, the tasks, if we have any financial plans, chargebacks, hierarchy, so if there's any sub-projects or parent projects that are dependents on this particular project, and we have our risk, issues, change requests. We have processes, and last we've got a project dashboard that basically gives us a dashboard of what all of these the details for this particular project. So I'm going to start off by going to the team. Okay, and in this particular case, we've got all the team members are assigned, but as you can tell, all of the resources are actually roles in this particular case. Okay, so what we want to do, which is normal standard project management, you first generate your teams with roles, and once you're ready to actually staff it, you come and you say, well, all right, so now we need to actually replace these roles with actual people. So this is where Clarity becomes, this is where the power of Clarity really starts. So let's say, I want to actually change the financial analyst, and I actually want to put a person in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this magnifying glass here. This magnifying glass here basically contains the resource finder. Okay, now this resource finder, okay, it automatically does the following. Okay, it populates a filter up top, and I don't know if you guys can see this, and it automatically populates the role. So we're looking for somebody who has a primary role of financial analyst, and we're also looking for somebody that is available in this particular time frame. All right, so we're looking for somebody that's available between October of 11 and October of 13 for a total of 2,000 hours. And what this has said is we've got this lady, Julie Bryant, okay? Now this Julie Bryant is has an availability match of 67%. That means she's probably allocated to another particular project for this particular period, so she doesn't have a match of 100%. Now, what we can also say, we can actually go into the details. I'm going to just open this in a new tab, and we can go into the details of this particular resource, okay? And I can actually look at the allocations and see where this particular person is allocated to, right? And I can see, you know, where they're allocated and how they're allocated. So I can actually go into detail, okay? And this particular item tells me basically, you know, on a monthly basis, which projects and how many hours this particular person is allocated to every project. So this allows me to make a decision and say, am I able to utilize this person or not? Now I can also say, well, you know what? I don't really want somebody that has the role of financial analyst, so I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to click filter, and I'm going to see what records I get. So basically what this gets me is this gets me the whole resource pool. And because I don't have any search criteria for anything specific, it's just doing an availability match on who's available for that particular time. I can also say, well, you know what? I'm not going to go by role. I'm going to go by skill. And in this particular case, I'm going to want somebody that has, you know, some type of financial expertise, okay? And I'm going to say filter. Okay, so in this particular case, what it's saying is, it's saying, all right, well, we've got Sam Stoneberg, who's a network engineer, but he has this particular skill set, okay, and he's got 100% skill set, and he's got 100% availability match. So at this point, I can actually replace that role with this particular resource, okay? I can also go to this particular resource's details and actually find out, you know, who this person's project manager is. You know, I can go and take a look in depth at his allocations, or I can take a look at his skill sets and see, right, what actually, which ones of the skills that he actually has, and to see if he's got any other dependent skills that could be beneficial for me. So now that, you know, we've basically shown how to associate a resource to a particular project. Oh, sorry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show the next component. So we've got, you know, we've just shown the team and how we can actually add and manipulate resources and roles, and how we can check, you know, the availability of the resource pool, which is, you know, which is very valuable in the sense that, you know, you no longer need to just find out who's available on the desk next to you because you know he's free because you talk to him all day. You know, you can find out who's available in India or China or somewhere across the world that belongs to your organization and is no longer utilized in any of your investments. Okay? So what that basically does is it allows you to streamline your resource pool and utilize them at 100% as opposed to just by the people that are known for you to use, right? Now we're actually going to the task component of this particular project, okay? And if we click on task, we actually have various options. So here's the task list again. We can actually go to resource utilization, so we can actually see, you know, who we're using in this particular project, or we can even go to the Gantt view. So if I go to the Gantt view, what this actually gives me is this provides me a web interface of a scheduler tool. So what I can do here is, let's say I'm just gonna move these over so I can show you. I can actually physically drag and drop and move the lengths of these tasks over, and as you notice, as soon as I move these tasks, it automatically manipulates the dates of all of these tasks. So I can actually come back here and say, well, you know, I need this task to start a little bit later. This one moves a little later. This one comes closer, goes farther, right? So we can actually manipulate the data as if we were in scheduling tools such as Microsoft Project or Open Workbench or any other scheduling tool, and then we save it and it automatically gets saved back to Clarity. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this window, and then I'm going to come back to the task and I'm going to say, well, I'd like to see what my resource utilization is for this particular project. So this basically, if I expand each one of these tasks, I guess that task doesn't have any, let me just see if I've got anything here on scoping. Let me expand the business market assessment here. This particular task doesn't actually have any resource assignments, but basically what it provides me is a global level assignment at the task level for all of these, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over into financial plans. Now, financial plans, what this gives me is, the ability to either have cost plans, benefit plans, or budget plans. In this particular screenshot, where we are is we're in the cost plan. So we can actually see we've got a cost plan that starts in 2010, right, ends in 2013. We've got a total cost of $776,000, and we can actually come in and take a look at the details of this particular cost plan. Okay. So here, we can actually we can generate our cost plan by role and by charge code. So here it's basically telling me by role and by charge code how much the planned amount is for each particular period of the year, right? And we can set up the periods any way we want, right? In this particular case, they're set up as monthly. Now, the actual values, they come in directly from Clarity as people start entering time against timesheets on this particular project, right? Once they enter time, that time gets calculated against a specific cost of that person, and they start coming in here as your actual cost for your particular, for each particular role or resource. In this particular case, because we don't have any named resources assigned, then there's no actual cost set up for this yet. So I'm going to go back to the previous page, and obviously we can take any one of these cost plans and we can turn that cost plan into an actual budget plan. So let me actually take this cost plan and turn it into a budget plan. So I'm going to submit this plan of record for approval. So that I'm going to keep the same name, and I'm going to say submit for approval. As soon as I do that, it now becomes available as a budget plan. Okay, so it's now submitted. So no matter what, I still have to approve this to actually be a full budget plan. But now you can see that all of these values here are read-only. None of these values are editable anymore. Okay, and that's because it's a complete budget plan. So what I'm going to do is here I'm going to approve this particular one. So now it becomes a budget plan, and I'm going to say return. Okay, I'm going to go to the hierarchy tab. The hierarchy tab, basically what it provides is, do we have any parent projects or child projects that are associated or dependent on this particular project? In this particular case, we don't, but you could easily say, well, I want to add a child project that's associated to this, and I say, this is the particular project that I want to add, and this automatically gets added here. And not only does it get added here, on all of the roll-up reports and partlets for this particular project, the cost plans or benefit plans or anything like that also gets rolled up to the parent project as well. And then we're going to go to, the causes of what causes projects to be late, which is, risk, issues, or changes. So we've got, in this particular screen, we're in the risk screen. Okay. So here we've got a couple of risks, and we can actually click onto these particular risks right directly from the risk. You can actually create an issue, as risks occasionally become issues, or we can create a change request, right, which also happens. We can associate tasks to risks, or we can associate action items. And action items I'll get into in a little bit, but basically they are when you require somebody to take an action on a specific item. So now what I'm going to that we've gone over the project component of Clarity, I'm actually just going to hover over, the navigation of Clarity and kind of what it contains. Okay, so what we've got here in the main section is we've got our main investments. So it doesn't only do project management. As you know, projects basically require them to have a start and an end date, right? But a lot of the times companies are faced with other items that do not have a start and an end date, such as other work. I like to call it, or other clients as well like to call it, keep the lights on, right? Building maintenance, or there's a lot of other duties and activities that need to occur in a company that don't really have an end date. They're going to be ongoing work forever and ever. So this allows you to track that type of work. Or if you have specific assets that require labor against these assets, we can set up assets or applications. Like I said, we have projects or programs, which is basically a conglomeration of projects or other investments. And then, so that's on the investment side. And then we have, on the demand side, we basically have ideas, requirements, and incidents, right? Incidents, as I've discussed before, are basically things that occur within your company that are causing you to develop more investments, more projects, or require additional effort to get these issues resolved, or ideas. And ideas are basically, ideas that whether it's your staff or your clients or your customers come up with that require you to start a new project or start a new investment. So shortly what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the life cycle of how it goes from demand to an investment, and finally how it actually goes into the reports that we showed at the start. Okay, on top of these particular investments, we also have what are called services. So, and a good example of services is, let's say you are an IT company and your IT company is doing an email service for everybody, but your email IT department needs to charge back to the departments this money. So what they do is you set up a service, and then you can actually have chargebacks per department based on number of users or number of departments, and you can actually specify how much the cost is and how much to bill each department within your company. Or you can actually take that externally and be it, at the client level or so on, right? Most companies that have Clarity utilize it for IT projects, but we do have other companies or other clients that I've worked with that utilize it strictly for, construction-based projects or other type of projects that are not IT related. So, Clarity works very well in both manners. It isn't necessarily just, like I said, just for IT projects. It was originally geared towards IT, but in the last several years, it's geared towards all other types of investments. And then a couple of new components are, it's got a product development component, so it helps you track projects and products through new product development lifecycle. So what that means is there's already a lifecycle that's been created for you that allows you to track your projects or your products in a much tighter fashion and gives you greater visibility for these. And then, we've got the financial management component, which basically allows you to give you a financial review or create financial transactions against your investments or create transaction entries. And then we've got a timesheet component, which allows end users that are assigned to an investment to enter time against that investment. So that really allows granular tracking of labor against specific investments. Very handy, very common for clients to utilize the timesheet component. It's a real good way, as labor seems to be one of the most expensive expenses in an organization. It's an excellent way to be able to track all of your expenses. And then obviously we've got all of the reporting and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into, before I go anywhere, the last tab that I didn't touch was the dashboard tab for this particular project that we were at, right? So this dashboard, as I said, as everything else, it's just a conglomeration of little portlets, right? So here, you get a very quick high-level view of your project. We can see the stage, we can see the schedule, see where it's at. You can see that it's, at least 10 days behind baseline schedule, right? We can see the recent activities that have occurred. Okay, we've got upcoming milestones for this particular project. Okay, we can see whether we're behind schedule or ahead of schedule. Okay, we've got some earned value phase analysis, and this one here basically is giving us our project baselines. So we can see that we have our current plan, which is down here, right? Our original baseline, and then our revised baseline. So this really gives us a quick high-level overview of how our project is starting to fall behind schedule. Okay. So now, like I mentioned before, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the idea component, and I'm going to show a quick life cycle flow of how ideas can get turned into investments, how those investments get tracked, how we can actually put time against the cost of ideas as well as the cost of new projects. So this is our idea overview page. Now keep in mind, one of the beauties about Clarity as well is every one of these screens is configurable by the end user. So if the end user wants to see something else, another field in this particular list, all they need to do is they need to come here, they need to go to the configure button. All right, and in this case I say, oh, well, I want to see if the idea is actually active as well. Okay, so I just added the active field to here. I'm going to click save and return. Okay, and now we can actually see if the particular investment is active or not. So this gives the end user great flexibility to actually generate reports or generate data, generate specific views of data in a very specific manner for their view only. So that's very handy. It gives them the ability to be able to, and obviously this little plus sign gives them the ability to filter, and they can also, the same thing as adding fields to here, they can also add any fields they want to the filtering section, right? So if they need to filter by something else, then they can do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to an idea, and as you can see, we've got some ideas that have been approved, some that have been converted. So the ones that have been converted are obviously ones that are already created by another type of investment. So I'm just going to go to the first one that we've got here, which is unapproved. Okay. Okay, and these are, this is the main component of this particular idea. And here, right, if we go to the financial summary, the financial summary basically gives us a high-level overview is, do we want to do it or do we not want to do it, right? So we basically say, plan cost $300,000, plan benefit $325,000. Not a huge ROI. Do we need to do it? Yes, no, right? In this particular case, we're going to say, you know what, this makes sense, right? So we're going to submit this for approval. Okay, so now you can see here we got this particular idea has been submitted for approval. Now on everything we have, we have team members. Like I said, this has the same layout as projects or anything else, right? And the reason we have team members is because a lot of the time, although they're ideas and they're not actually investments, they still require work and they require thought, and that requires an effort involved, right? So you can actually allocate people or staff against this, and these people can actually enter time against this, and it comes back and tracks it and provides you a cost of these particular investments or these particular ideas as the cost of what it is to bring them to fruition. So at this point, now that it's been submitted for approval, we can actually set the status of this to approved. Okay. So once this particular idea has been approved, we get a new button here that says convert. Okay. So at this point it says, what do I want to convert this idea to? So you can say project or application, asset, product, other work, or a service. In this particular case, I'm going to convert it to a project, but I actually want to use a project from a template. So within my Clarity projects, I've got a list of projects that are templates. Okay. And they're pre-created templates that contain tasks and roles and the setup of my standard projects as we've defined them by category. So I click project from template, and it's going to bring me up a list of all the templates that we have available within Clarity. So here I've got some that are for applications and IT development and, a major IT project or Six Sigma type. What I'm going to select here is I'm going to say I want a major IT project template. Okay. And I'm going to say next. Okay, so here basically it says, what's the name? I'm going to give it a project ID, so I'm going to say, and I'm just going to put A at the start, that way it shows up first on our list. It asks me for a start date and a finish date, and let's make this go till next year. And progress, I'm going to say, yeah, sure, not started since we just got it. And here we've got, a scheduler format. So how do we, if we want to actually integrate it with Workbench or Microsoft Project, the status, the percent calculation method, the assignment pool. What that means is, am I allowed to assign people to tasks that are on the team only, or I can actually select people that anybody within the organization and not have to make them team members. Okay. So at this point, I've clicked Save. So this might take a couple of seconds because it's actually taking the major IT project template, right? So if I come to my tasks, I can see that this has been basically fully. I'm going to open it up in the Gantt view so you can actually see it. And you can see that we basically have, we've just created a project with, the an IT template, and now we can actually manipulate all of this data based on this particular template. And it also populates, all our team members with roles. Obviously, this particular one only has architects, and we've got the same types of things. We've got, the dashboard, or financial plans and the chargebacks and risk and issues and changes that we've discussed. Now, once we've created this, we can add these particular items to portfolios or to programs, and this is going to come back and it's going to provide your C-level executives an overview of your whole environment and a holistic view of your whole organization of where are all of your environments. I think because we're getting close to the end in time, I'm gonna end this and start a Q&A session for everybody.
Federico, excellent. Great overview of Clarity, and I think the audience would agree that what you demonstrated is very powerful, and clearly we could spend an entire day going through all the different features and functionalities. Again, to the audience, the purpose of the demonstration was just to give you an idea of the functionality of what you could expect, and we would be more than glad to schedule a more in-depth discussion with you to address your needs. And of course, you have the contacts from our invitation. As Federico said, this is pretty much wrap up our presentation, the formal part of the presentation. What we would like to do is to invite you to ask questions. If you recall from my introduction, there's two ways that you can participate, and some of you have already done so. As you can type a question on the webinar toolbar on the right side of your screen, or you can click on the raise hand icon, and I will unmute your line announce your name and you can ask your question. And again, I encourage you all to participate. Federico, we have a handful of questions that have come in. I'd like to ask them, please. One is, can we associate a resource to a NPIO in Clarity?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as I mentioned before, we can actually, and I showed in the ideas, which are non-project investment objects, right? Everything within Clarity, let's go to other work or anything, everything's got the team tab. So yes, we can associate resources and track time against those particular resources that are, associated with whether it's an NPIO or a project object. So everything, like I said, as long as we've got a team tab, we can associate team members to it. And that's available for, all of the projects and NPIO objects of Clarity.
Okay. Another question that has come in, can you talk a little bit about cost?
Wow, that's really an open-ended question. I think it's something that we can get into more detail if needed. There's basically two components like any other application. You have the cost of the licensing and the cost of the implementation. Licensing is also split in two. You can either go, in-house, so do your own installation, or CA provides a cloud, an on-demand version of Clarity. A lot of new clients seem to be going towards this option as well. As you guys know, cloud is, if you can do it, it makes sense, right? But, I can gladly discuss this offline. Like I said, it really depends on what your needs are as far as implementation or as far as licensing is concerned, and which option is best for you, whether in-house or on-demand.
And I would like to just echo Federico's statement that when it relates down to cost, it really boils down to what are your long-term objectives, and that will be more of a one-on-one conversation, and I would welcome to maybe set up an appointment and have that dialogue with you. Another question, Federico, organization would like to decrease the requirements to build PowerPoint statuses outside of a tool like Clarity to avoid rework. Can statuses and risks be exported into a simple PowerPoint format?
Yeah, actually, so I'm going to go back to my overview page here. And yes, absolutely everything can be exported to either Excel, PowerPoint, or as a CSV. So here, as you can see, right, you've got the export to Excel and you've got export to PowerPoint. So as I mentioned before, all of these little things here, these little squares, are what are called in Clarity portlets. So they're mini reports, and you can add any conglomerate of any of them that you want. So in any page, I can come here and I can say, well, I want to actually configure, I want to manage my tabs and I want to add a tab, and I'm just going to show you the simplicity of how this is done. So I'm going to add a particular tab that's called, I don't know, today's demo.
Federico, looks like your screen is frozen.
I'm sorry.
Oh, here we go. Thank you.
It's a bad habit I have. So, what I did is, I'm sorry, I was in there, I just added a tab. I'm adding a tab to the main section, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a couple of portlets. So I'm going to say I want to see the active users that are logged in and actual resource utilization. So I'm basically adding 3 portlets. I can also add page filters or the layout the way I want them to show up, right? And at this point, I can say save and return. And you can see, basically, I have this new tab called Today's Demo with these 3 portlets, and I have the ability to export it to PowerPoint. And like I said, these particular portlets are grid-based, but they could easily be, like these, right? These are all graph-based, and I can just export these to PowerPoint. So yes, in short, just about every view in Clarity is exportable. As well as we have the option of using the actual reporting component. So Clarity comes with a business objects reporting engine, where you can actually export your reports to PDF, or schedule them or anything that you like as well.
Federico, very good. Another question, please. How much of the graphs, Power Reports, for example, presented in this demo are built in per default in Clarity, and how much do you need to program?
Everything that you see that I've shown you is out of the box.
Okay. Perfect. Can you talk a little bit about how does Clarity compare with the Microsoft project?
Oh, wow.
Perhaps what are the key differences why Clarity versus Microsoft project?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think they're completely different. This provides you more of a holistic view. It provides a better roll up into programs and portfolios, as well as handles what are called NPIOs much better, and it contains I think the only benefit that I've seen to utilizing the Microsoft project over Clarity is the seamless integration of Microsoft Project Server with Microsoft Project itself, the desktop tool. Other than that, it's I think they're completely separate animals. It's like Microsoft Project is more for companies that need to do just a few projects at a time, as opposed to managing everything at a higher level, like in the hundreds of consecutive active projects or a couple of hundred. This provides a much better roll-up. We can also provide information. CA's got tons of information regarding benefits, pros and cons over Clarity over Microsoft Project.
But I do believe that you mentioned earlier in the presentation that you can import Microsoft Project information into Clarity.
That's correct. Yeah, you can use the scheduler. The Microsoft Project Scheduler integrates with Clarity with all projects seamlessly.
Okay, Federico, I think that these are the only questions that we have for now. Any final comments for the audience before we wrap up?
I want to say thank you to everyone for attending, and I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
I like those sentiments. I'd like to just let you know that in a couple of days, perhaps, or early next week, we will be posting a replay link to this webinar online, and I'll be following up with an email so that you know how to access that. And again, if we can be of any service with your PPM needs, or like to schedule a one-on-one on Clarity and how can it be utilized in your organizations, we would welcome the opportunity to have the dialogue. This wraps up the presentation. We thank you for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you.